Thank you very much, President Taylor. I must say that's the most creatively humorous presentation of an honorary degree I have ever heard. I am ready at this very moment, Dr. Factor, to accept a job, and since I have a good pension, I can work cheap. I'd like to thank President Taylor and the members of the board for being here, the elected officials in the audience. I also am honored to be receiving an honorary degree with Professor Wilson, whose work I very much admire. I read Honor's Voice when I was president and was quite moved by it. And especially Janet McKinley, who does such wonderful work with Oxfam and with Grameen USA. For those of you who are looking for something good to do in the world to empower people to work themselves out of poverty, I recommend the microcredit unit movement. I was pleased last year when the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to Muhammad Yunus from Bangladesh, whom Janet knows and for whom I campaigned relentlessly for 14 years to get the Nobel Prize. He told me that after he received it, the Nobel Committee said, maybe Bill Clinton will quit calling us now. But I say this at some length to remind you of a point I will make later in my remarks. Many people know that this microcredit movement is a grassroots movement where 97% of the loans, at least in Bangladesh, go to village women, where the repayment rate is almost 99% higher than the commercial bank repayment rate. But for the purposes that we here, the most important statistic is this: 58% of the people use those loans in a country with a per capita income of $1 a day. 58% of the people use the loans to lift themselves above the international poverty line. And that is part of what I want to talk about, because you live in a world where intelligence, ability, energy, and dreams are pretty well evenly distributed, but education, opportunity, organization, and investment are not. I spent most of my life in politics, and I loved it. I got tickled listening to the parallel stories of Abraham Lincoln coming here as a Republican and me coming as a Democrat. And I was thinking that Knox has always been remarkably consistent. You know, this university was born in the throes of the anti-slavery movement and was revolutionary from its beginning in being open to people of color and to women from the beginning. So this is not such a balancing act after all, because if I had been alive when you gave the degree to Abraham Lincoln, I would have been a Republican. And if he were alive today, I kind of think he'd be a Democrat. The fifth debate, which Mr. Lincoln and Mr. Douglas had here, was an interesting one because it contained, at the time, Lincoln's most passionate attack on slavery. But that has tended to obscure what I think were the good intentions of his fellow citizen of Illinois, Stephen Douglas, as they were setting up what would later become their contest for the presidency in 1860. For both of them were moving away from the extremes in their party, struggling to find a way to hold the country together. When Lincoln ran for president in 1860, the truth is that's why he got this honorary degree. Your college was trying to help him get elected, and you wanted to give him a little boost. 146 years later, you gave Stephen Colbert a degree to give his ratings a boost. That's what Al Gore now calls an assault on reason. In 2007, you're giving me an honorary degree so I can be attacked by Stephen Colbert. John Quincy Adams once said after leaving the White House, there is nothing in life so pathetic as a former president. The good news is you can say whatever you want. The bad news is no one cares what you have to say anymore. I want to say something seriously because I want to talk to you about what you're going to do with the rest of your life, whatever you get a degree in. I'm here for one reason. Because John Podesta, class of 1971, was my chief of staff, has been my friend for about 37 years, is one of the ablest public servants and finest human beings I have ever known. And I would do anything he asked me to do. And for 8 years, we were arm in arm in the great struggles to prepare our country for the 21st century, to provide opportunity to all the people in America, to create a genuine sense of community of responsible citizens, and to move the world toward peace and prosperity and harmony. And I believe that is consistent with the driving obsession of Abraham Lincoln's life. For he wanted above all to preserve the Union. He knew it required both individual liberties and rational compromises. In the modern world, we are engaged anew and more urgently in a search for unity. It is entirely a global search, but also intensely a local one. It is ironic that you live in a time when knowledge is doubling every 5 years or so. Just in the couple of weeks before you came here to celebrate your commencement, there have been two astonishing scientific discoveries.